Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Way Up Trading. Today we're going to go over the one, the only AMC, also APE as well. Taking a look at that huge move that we had this past Friday going into the weekend that happened after hours, roughly about 100% move. That actually wound up coming back a little bit down today into the regular trading hours. Got a lot of the moves and supports that I wanted to see actually hold, but we did not get the break that I was looking for after that critical return to $6.13, which is the key area we've been talking about for several months here on this channel on some of the other past videos. And I'm going to go over the details of where I believe we are on the chart, what I see going forward into this week ahead, as well as midterm going into the earnings that we have coming up in the next little bit. So stick around. I'm going to go over all those details and more right after this.
Do you love movies? Because I love movies.
Movie!
All right, I have AMC's chart actually pulled up here. This is going to be the 23-hour chart just to get a better idea of exactly what we have going on overall in the chart, including the after hours move that took place on this past Friday. Again, roughly about 100% move took place in the after hours, and the lows of about 440, running all the way up to a top just about 879 before retracing and coming back down. Again, 100% several weeks here on the channel, and that's exactly what we got. Part two of the situation is, did it hold? And that's what we're here to go over today. And got the chart here pulled up here for the 23-hour chart once again. Taking a look at where we stand, you can see first off, we're going to do the macro look at it. Again, we have this larger bull channel. I'm going to go and open this up a little broader so we get a full screen mode. We have our descending broadening wedge since the beginning of AMC has played out, top and bottoms on this wedge. Triple bottom set up here back in the pre-January squeeze. Again, we are sitting in a larger bull channel, which is on an upward trend. White lines represent the top and bottom, as well as a midline, which is this white dotted line going up across. Descending broadening wedge has played out since the beginning of AMC's inception, playing tops and bottoms until we got a triple bottom set up here. 1, 2, 3 prior to the January squeeze. Up broke the descending broadening wedge, came back and retested that midline a second time. This is most likely the buy button removal setup here, which we all know they pulled the ability to buy these stocks during that run up. We did get a full retracement here roughly about the end of January of 2021. Played the midline, bounced slightly under it, and then we came back up to test the top of it a few different times before gaining enough strength, and which wound up leading to the run up that we had in June of 2021, which is the 2021 squeeze where we ran all the way up to $72 up here, which is on the adjusted chart shows about $45 or $46. From there, we did form a bull pennant that looked like it was going to play to the upside, but wound up actually falling out due to the markets actually turning bearish going into the end of 2021 and so on. The 2022 bear market was on from there, roughly starting about November, September, October, November, somewhere in that period here. It looks like in December we had the full breakdown going into this holiday season, and then from there we played the bottoms here, forming a descending broadening wedge a second time here, breaking through several different support levels, dropping us all the way back down to the midline where we double bottomed. Looked like we were going to get a nice push back up, which actually brought us to the March squeeze of 2022, where we ran all the way up, roughly breaking the descending broadening wedge very briefly before being sent all the way back down as a throwback into the wedge, bringing us all the way down to the bottom of this wedge here, back at supports roughly around $6 and change. We did not see another attempt up to the top of the descending broadening wedge not until we got the announcement for APE dividend being put out back in August of 2022, where things started to play to the upside. We did get another break, and when APE was released, everything was then waterfall back down until we then broke the lows all the way down nearing the buy button removal area, which brought us down to around the $3 and change mark before bouncing back, playing another triple bottom, basically giving us this setup once again for a potential run up to the top. This cycle is now repeating itself. The top end, which I believe is going to be our all-time highs, being retested and possibly broken at some point in the future. At this particular point, we are going to play the charts for what they are. With the market turning bullish at this point in time, there's a lot of opportunities here to the upside, not just on AMC, but obviously AMC is something that's on everybody's mind, being that we are been following this thing now for several years, and we know how this thing has been held down. Every single time we have touched this descending broadening wedge top, we've had several halts on the way down to the bottoms that we've seen here, roughly around $3.70. And then the most recent one on this partial uprise, lowest low we had was a quick wick down to about $3.80 before turning back around, seeing these heights most recently after the 100% run we had on Friday. Magnificent run. It was really, really nice to watch in after hours. However, we are at a point here where we did actually wind up breaking the descending broadening wedge, where we were halted on several different occasions. We finally did break it in the after hours time frame. So this changed everything on the stock. Again, we've been halted on multiple occasions. Every time we've touched that line, even where we're at $6, they halted it once we touched that line. First time we've broken out of it since AMC has had its major drop back at the end of 2021. And it leads us into today. You can see this massive run up, this massive candle that engulfs almost everything before it, up to our target that we have set here at 867 was one of my top end targets. I was actually, if you've been watching the channel, been paying attention, I've been calling on a 100% run up for quite a while. My top target was about 919 before receiving some kind of a rejection back to the $7 mark, $6 to $7 mark, and we've been seeing that throughout today, and things are actually looking pretty good. I do believe we will see the $7 mark again. I believe we're now playing a support area just to see how things will turn out in terms of the arbitrage while we wait for what's happening with the stock and what's happening with the remainder of the lawsuit. A lot of things going on there, but I always say the charts precede the news, in my opinion, and the actual chart is what I pay most attention to. So coming back here to a little bit closer of a time frame, we're looking now at the 4-hour chart, just taking a look and see how things have played out. You can see a lot closer. We have this triple bottom setup that we've had here. Got this move to the upside, basically playing more of a broadening bottom type of setup here, where we now have several rejections off this speed line or trend line to the upside on multiple occasions back when we had our run in March, a few different runs going into earnings, and now this top end here where we have most recent run in after hours up to about the $8.67 marks, 79-cent mark, and has been sent downwards. And if you look very closely, you can see where we bounced. We actually have now formed a retest of the descending broadening wedge right in particular area. I'm going to actually mark it off because it is a very significant thing to do. But we do not want to see in this particular case, if you're bullish on AMC or long on AMC, not want to see a rejection and fall back into the descending broadening wedge. That would be characteristic of a possible lower low than what we were already seeing on the stock. So we want it to hold at this particular level, roughly around $5 mark to roughly about the $4.90 mark at very low. $4.90, $5. We don't want to see it drop any further below that, or else again we would be potentially seeing a lower low again as a characteristic of the descending broadening wedge. So in my opinion, I'm looking forward for this thing to bounce from here. And after hours, we did get a nice flush here. Once again, roughly about 11% move down after receiving some more details on what's happening with the APE dividend, things like that, the possible conversion. Haven't really read fully into it. I am briefly going over and skimming this to get an idea of what things are being talked about document. And I'm looking to actually probably post my response to that and what I believe on it on Twitter. But if you're not following me on Twitter, please go ahead and follow me on Twitter there. I do post a lot of high quality content there. My link is down in the description. Looking forward for you to taking a look at that, and hopefully you can follow along with the response. Moving along on this thing, we're going to take a look at a closer time frame to get an idea of what the action looked like today overall. All right, now I got the chart pulled up here on the 10-minute. This is the 10-minute chart for AMC, and just want to take a look here to decode this thing and see exactly where we are. We are, in my opinion, in another descending broadening wedge. I mean, this particular pattern plays itself all over this chart on several different locations. This just tells me that a bullish reversal is in every situation on this chart. From the beginning, I just showed you a few minutes ago on the chart, the inception of AMC, as well as from the more recent retest of the descending broadening wedge on the super macro descending broadening wedge we just talked about, leading into this one. So we got that massive run up. You can also look at this in a couple different ways. You can look at this as a parabolic arc type of move. We got this huge run up, a bounce off of a major level of support, and then a push back up. You've seen this on a couple different stocks that have had their squeeze like moves. Happens very often. Move back to the upside for one more push. And this basically just took the same shape, but what it also does is form a downward move within this wedge broadening style wedge pattern, and possibly setting up for a double bottom in order to start to push up one more time. And that's exactly what I see here for AMC. I don't see this move being completed because, again, we did bounce off of a major level of support before actually forming this new move, looking like we're potentially going to most likely see $7 at the minimum this week. I did want a lot bigger push, but they are going to play with the news and things like that in order for them to be able to hold this down as long as possible. but I do see at least hitting in the 7s and holding that as a last level of support before we start to push higher, moving into the end of the summer. As the end of the summer is where I actually would like to see some of those higher numbers start to push in once we get over the $10 mark. I know there's still a lot of bears that are thinking that there's a potential to go on a lower low. As long as we can hold the areas that I mentioned a little while ago, I do still see us moving to the upside going to September. I did make a claim on this one saying that we potentially can see $29 going into the end of September.
Squeeze every penny! Squeeze every penny!
So I'm going to stick by that. I'm going to call that again. $29 is what I'm looking for by September. That'll be after earnings. That'll be after lawsuit, hopefully. And I believe $29 is on its way on this particular stock. Keep this here. You guys can go ahead and quote me on this later on in the future when we do start to see these things, same way we did last time. So it's not financial advice. Never tell you to buy or sell. However, I'm very bullish on this particular stock and I understand what's happening. But nonetheless, we're going to take a look at the chart here and see what's happening. Again, this is a descending broadening wedge off of the major run up in after hours, the 100% move, wanting to bring us back downwards. At the end of the day, we stayed on under the 9 EMA pretty much from open. They dumped this thing roughly about 40% off of its highs into open before we got the bounce off of the smooth moving average, thicker gray line here. Very important one. I do recommend adding this to your charts. It is very, very helpful. This is the smooth moving average, SMMA. Once we got the move up, we did break the 9 EMA once again to the upside and held our levels of support that I had marked here, roughly at about $5.38, followed by $5.44. Started making our way, bouncing again off of that midline of the descending broadening wedge, forming finally a 921 cross, which shot this thing up to our major level of $6.13. Now, I have talked about in the past that everything underneath $6.13 is considered a macro spring area where I believe the most accumulation is taking place prior to them sending this thing up in a markup phase later on toward the fall months of the year. So we're going to keep an eye on that. 613, they don't want us to flip that line because they understand how fast things can move within that area. So we're going to keep an eye on 613. I had mentioned it on Twitter. I've constantly spoke about it on this channel. But 613 is the line. If we cannot break 613, then I'd be a little bit bearish. But until we do, when we do, in my opinion, that's when the fireworks will start. So right now in after hours, we did get a nice move downward after some new details on what's happening with the stock came out based upon Judge Zern, and you can see we had a very large sell-off, roughly about 11% or so downward in after hour, and we're starting to recover now after that initial shock. APE actually wound up going the opposite way and running up. Obviously, they do the arbitrage and trying to pull arbitrage on everyone that's involved in the game in order for you to sell off your positions so they can have control over this thing for the longer term. However, involved in either one of them, I think you're going to be just fine. In my opinion, just depends on how long it takes and when it actually all the walls they put up start to crumble down. So right now you got APE that actually ran up about 4.4%. It was much higher previously, actually touching about $2.10 it looks like in after hours, and now it's kind of calming down roughly around about 188 in post market. So we'll keep an eye on APE. I do see a nice uptrend. It did actually also have an inverse reaction to that run up that we had this past week. This past Friday, that 100% run up on AMC actually dumped APE roughly down about a full 100%. No, maybe a little less than that. Probably somewhere like 80%. It did go down and touch 67 cents, which is incredible, and it had an immediate response back to the upside. A lot of orders waiting down in that area. They were all filled on that particular dump, and I mean, things just completely rebounded. If you did catch that move downward and actually started buying that dip, you made out really well, because I mean, that was a huge move to the downside, and that would have outweighed anything AMC was able, because you would have been able to position yourself much more available shares and things like that for a lot lower in cost, and you would have definitely been up more than 100% just on that move without the manipulation of the options change. So congratulations if you caught the bounce back up from 8, because that was a nice 67 cents all the way back up to right now closing at about 188 or 180 with after hours at 188 with much more upside to go. And the way I look at this for 8, it is in a nice ascending level of support, looking to go ahead and start to break. It did get that break above this 181 mark that I had set here, which is basically being held. You can see that gray line is the smooth moving average once again. You can see that it's constantly rejected on a 10-minute chart until it finally got that broke out breakout, and you got this big run up just about the end of the day and the after hours. Things are looking really good on APE. However, we just can't call. It's just everything's going to be too close to call until we get the full details on what's happening with the stock. However, I do still see continuation where we get both of them moving upward direction. I am seeing a longer term target on APE, roughly about $3 and change. And I can see that going into the earnings area or earnings report somewhere in that area. So I'd say mid-August, we'd be looking roughly about the $3.60 range, which is roughly about 100% move from where we are. So keep a lookout on that. It's a good opportunity to average any of your shares. We are right now in a very, very crucial area, being that we did break the smooth moving average on the 4-hour time frame. JS trend candles are now flipping from this reddish color to blue, meaning that momentum is on the side here of the stock, and it is above the smooth moving average on the 4-hour time frame. So I am expecting some kind of a trickling up motion and trading upwards to the upside again over the next couple of weeks, and I'm expecting somewhere around the $3.70 mark to be where things start to get really interesting. So with that mass sell-off on APE has now gone from being a cup and handle type of setup to a double bottom. The double bottom actually played itself out on that dump, and now you got this upward movement. You can see we were then stopped out right here at the $2.10 mark today with the after hours move that took place right at gray thicker line. Once again, this is a smooth moving average, which is also the underside of this uptrend, or now become a broadening wedge to the upside, where I can start to see that $3.60 mark or so taking place roughly into the end of August, it's September, somewhere in that range. So this is looking good. I mean, this is looking fantastic in terms of APE. AMC again is going to be manipulated because again, a dangerous one because options do play a factor in it. People exercising out their options in order to get more shares, and the hedging and delta hedging, all these different things that go into having a stock move out of control are all over AMC. So they do a lot of different things, stock down, the price down, and it is manipulated much easier than APE is. And it also proposes a much larger danger to whatever system they're playing with. The opportunity is still going to be there. I don't think this move is over on the stock at all. Much better, much stronger position with what's happening with the fundamentals. I know there are a couple different things to concern with the writer's strike as well as the actor's strike and all these different things. However, I do feel that these are going to be pushed as a narrative in order to kind of hold the stock back and delay the inevitable, in my opinion. It's going to be time. I mean, the stock is ready to go. It's been wound up all the way to the end. Everything else is moving up. It's entirely too compressed for it not to make its way to where it needs to be. Volume has been incredible. 250 million just about on AMC stock today of volume. Wow. Yeah, a total of 256 million in volume was actually done today. That is insane. We have not seen those types of numbers in a long time. So taking a look here at the 23-hour one more time, just get an idea of what kind of particular patterns we have going forward. We did get a 921 cross that took place today on the daily time frame. Again, you see it rejected right at the smooth moving average, coming back down to retest the 9 EMA on that same time frame. 9 EMA on the same time frame. 9 EMA on 23-hour or daily, you might as well consider it that, is at $5 flat. And if we go ahead and get that bounce, I can see us starting to reaccumulate for the next push up. I want to see us break this 771 level. From there, I'll be looking at 919 as being the next target. Now, from a harmonic trading perspective, we got the setup here is a bullish bat pattern looking for the reversal. My targets, once again, we are now broken over the $6.13 mark today. We have just tapped it. We have a little bit of bullish pressure that's going to be coming in. I believe it's going to carry us over, but once we do get carried over, 3-day chart here, I'm still looking for a test first of this $8 mark, and then from there ultimately 919 and hold above it. Once we do hold above this area, goodbye. We're going to 12 bucks. We'll start making our way towards 20. 29 is my target too. That's still going to remain until we actually hit it, which I believe is coming again nearer to the end of the summer months, most likely in September. I'll call that out now. I'm going to continue to we'll save this video, come back, you guys can check me out on that and see if I actually came through in my prediction. However, stock is looking good. I think we got some good opportunity here. Market's looking really good right now. It may come back down a little bit, but that's part of the game. It does need to breathe. It's an inhale, exhale type of movement. And right now, I think we may be still on the precipice of some good things to happen with the market before taking that exhale. So we'll see how things work out there. The way up trading team, we were able to catch the bottom of this move once again. We entered this thing for 8/18 expiration dates for $5 calls. Our calls went nuts, roughly touching about 395%, 389%. Incredible numbers. I want to shout out to the Way Up trading team for actually being able to catch the bottom, trusting it, and making some money on this thing. Just can't wait till this thing is ready to start rocking, because we're almost there. I do feel it in my bones, and I think we're gonna make this thing happen. So if you like more content like this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Join us on the Way Up. We're gonna be here each and every single day, growing our portfolios together and making the outcome income for 2023. If you're interested in joining a group that cares about you actually making money, succeeding, growing together, growing your portfolios together, link is down in the description for the Way Up trading team. A lot of good plays get posted up there, a lot of good opportunities, a lot of charts, some good traders in there learning and actually beating the game. Just take a look at the link down in the description for a free trial opportunity there. And don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Peace.